once everything's a little bit more polished up and we have a little bit more content in there, I can definitely see it starting to go out to more players and, being the first playable version. I can guarantee before the end of...
Hello, my name is MrSpaml, and today, as you just saw on the community tab, we got something rather special, don't we, brother boy?
Yeah.
We have, go on, introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Nelson.
Yeah, but you all recognise him. Bit nervous, but we've got all the questions here for him. Got the demo up as well. Got brother boy, of course.
So number one we decided was just what are you currently working on? Like, what are you doing now in Unturned 4?
Let's see. So actually this weekend I got most of the stuff ready for another 3.0 update, and then this morning I was doing some work on the system to allow more players into the game. I'm not sure when I'll roll that out, but it's sort of in place so that I can kind of activate it when the time comes.
Nice.
I think what's currently on the active development section of the roadmap is a pretty good indicator of what I'm going to work on. I think after our call today, I'll probably work on either some of the settings or maybe fixes or the news feature where you can see what's been worked on recently.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, nice.
Okay.
All right, our next question is, in your Trello, whatever it's called, you talked about NPCs. Yeah, oh, shut up, alright, I'm British. You talked about having NPCs having like their own daily routines. Would you like to tell us about how that's going to work?
That in 3, the NPCs are very static, like they all just stand in the same place. And so part of my plan in 4 is that rather than having the NPCs be this completely separate system, in fact, in 3, the NPCs are no different than like a crate as far as the server's perspective of them goes. So my plan for 4 is that they'll basically just be players that are controlled by AI rather than a player controller. And so then all the things that they do, like training with players or these different activities, will be using the player systems. And so as part of that, they'll be able to be a lot more lifelike. And if there's an NPC outpost, they can go from running their shop and then maybe at nighttime they close their shop. Or one thing I was thinking is that if there's like a janitor character, they're walking around cleaning things, and if there's like dead bodies in the safe zone, then the janitor will clean up the body, put the bodies away, stuff like that.
Oh, that's cool.
Other sort of a question relating to that. Would these NPCs, could you maybe make a system where third-party like programs could come in and, create NPC storylines, like, because obviously your maps would have your NPCs where you have a janitor or whatever, but for other maps, could people maybe make a routine for these NPCs somehow themselves?
Oh, definitely. All the tools, exactly the same as 3, where any tool that I make for developing the game, I fully intend to make available to the community. And in fact, a lot of the decisions I've been making are largely focused around trying to make good long-term decisions for modding. So if it happens in a vanilla map, it should be possible in a custom map.
Nice. There's so much stuff you could do with that. Honestly, like the amount of roleplay things, because you could have it like, what was that map called with like all the medieval stuff?
What about voice acting? NPCs that have actual voices rather than just text,
Oh, that's an interesting point. I think it's unlikely that my stuff would have voice acting, and so then I think the feature wouldn't really be there unless I add it specifically for mods. One thing I was sort of considering, though, is that it would be interesting to have at least some sort of sound effect when the characters are talking. Like, some games like Undertale have different... I don't know what sort of sound you would call it, but every character has a sort of distinct noise.
Oh yeah, like
Minecraft,
The Sims.
almost, with the villagers where they like, just random noises to make it seem like they're talking.
Yeah, you could just get Brad to do that, to be honest. In one of my movies a while ago, I did like this fight on a crane. Apart from that, obviously, close combat fighting in Unturned 3, you basically just like, you have the same animations. Obviously, you've got like the stamina hit, which is right click, and then the left click one. Are you going to change the way close combat works?
Oh, definitely. So I have a few things in mind for that. Right now, I've been kind of splitting up weapons into different pieces of functionality, like being able to shoot projectiles or eventually like some sort of melee system. So my plan is that different melee weapons will use different of these behaviors. Like maybe a spear makes sense to be something that you can throw, whereas a shield is something you should be able to block with. And so then that way, it's not like every melee weapon has the same light and strong attack. Different ones have different charged abilities. But then aside from that, I want there to be a lot more thought in terms of like how you're fighting and, you know, like you're saying, not just the same simple light and strong attack.
Like in GTA, you can like, I don't know what it's called, but you can like lean back and stuff. Yeah. Like the way that your character moves when you're fighting is very different, and you can like hold right click to go in a fighting stance, then you can spam space, and then when the person attacks, you like dodge it.
Oh, that's an interesting point.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, the animations, like, I don't know how hard that is. Obviously, I don't make games and stuff, but something just kind of like that would be really interesting, especially for roleplay, obviously.
I definitely like the idea of having some sort of dodge move. I'm not sure when that would be added, but I do really like that idea.
Yeah, it could be pretty fiddly to make, I imagine, as well.
So with your demos that I've seen and all that, you got these seasons which are pretty cool. What are your plans with the seasons and like the weather in 4.0? Will like animals and NPCs react differently to different seasons and weather and all of that?
I expect so. I think it'll be sort of a gradual, more and more reactions get added to that sort of thing. I think right now, so if there needs to be some work optimization-wise on the seasons right now. Then I think I'll probably do some more environmental art type things with that, like having water freezing. I think that's actually going to be kind of an interesting thing to solve. Like, what happens if you're underwater and the water starts to freeze? Like, is there like, can you get frozen in the lake and die? So I need to.
That's pretty cool. Random corpses.
Yeah, you have a player on an ice cube. Bloody hell, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
This next question, obviously you're talking about controller support and stuff, and I've been hearing stuff about it apparently like possibly coming onto console. Would you like to talk about
that? I'm not doing any work on console for Unturned 4. I'm not really sure what would happen with that, but it's mostly that I want you to be able to play split screen with the controllers. I have lots of fun memories playing split screen games, and so I think the first priority is kind of getting split screen. All the split screen stuff works right now, but some of the controller stuff is still fiddly. But it's not around console, it's more just around giving people more options. And I know there's a lot of people that wanted to be able to use controllers in 3, and it's sort of that thing that you have to plan ahead for from the start, because all the read binding, all the controller prompts, making it so that the menus work properly, or like, for example, being able to move items in the inventory with the controller. I haven't done that for 4 yet, but there's just so many things affected by controller that it's something I'm trying to prioritize early on.
Yeah. Damn, pretty cool that. Split screen, I did not expect that to even be a plan, to be honest. Wait, how many will it be limited to, like, split screen?
Right now I'm thinking probably just limited to 2. I mean, I might have some sort of hidden option that lets you bump it up to 4, but...
What forms of transport do you expect to add? Like, because obviously right now there's just the cars and the demos, but maybe boats, planes, you know, all the things that are in 3.
Definitely everything that's already in 3. And over time, I definitely want to expand on that. I think 3 was kind of limited in terms of how the vehicles were structured. It was kind of hard to add more as time went on. But both expanding the depth of the different vehicles, like having trains that can switch tracks and stuff like that, as well as, you know, one-off vehicles like being able to drive the crane. I'm not really sure what the use of being able to drive the crane would be, but that'd be kind of a fun gimmick, I guess.
Yeah, just for RP. Yeah. Literally random things. There's always a good use for an RP, basically. Oh, speaking of that, you know how there's all chairs on the Unturned 3 map? Are you going to be able to sit down on them on 4?
Probably. I think that was something I was sort of thinking of while designing some of the vehicle systems. I'll focus on that sooner rather than later, just to make sure that it's all good there.
Are zombies gonna like leave towns and have their own walking paths? Like was it Unturned 1 and 2? Forest. They walked around on their own, and obviously the forest has some really cool paths where all the cannibals go. Is it gonna have something like that, or are they just gonna be static like in 3?
They should definitely roam. Having the zombies limited to the specific areas in 3 was a poor decision. I think it's a high priority for me to have roaming zombies.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and then in one of your Chilo ones, I need to learn to say that. Stop bullying me, Brad. You spoke about like zombies on the roofs and stuff. Like, are they going to be able to climb around the buildings, or is that going to be like a different mutant zombie?
I don't know. That's the sort of thing that I haven't fully decided on. That's one reason I want to put a big chunk of update work into just focusing on the zombies sometime soon. Is I'm not sure how much I want to split into like all zombies can do these new things versus special zombie types, but being able to give them more freedom navigation-wise, I think is important, because in 3 there's so many ways to cheese the zombies by just hiding on top of something, and so giving them more mobility especially, I think will make them more of a threat.
Cool. And then you spoke on your Trello and on your devlogs, I think, about a replay system. You plan on adding like a almost 360 replay system like GTA 5 has, where you can get different angles after an event's happened, you know, especially for YouTubers like Spaml.
Yeah, that's another high priority. I think so. The first thing related to that will probably be spectator mode, and being able to spectate other players from first person and fly around the camera. And then the kind of extension of that will be being able to get recordings. I think most likely you'll be able to record from your client the area around you. So then you can kind of watch back what happened to you and the people near you. But then from the server, you'll be able to get a server replay that'll cover everything.
In Unturned 3, obviously you got the skill tree, but it more or less just boosts what you can already do. It doesn't exactly change anything. But for example, with the like fall damage one that reduces fall damage, are you going to make it more realistic? So let's say you drop off something high, is your character going to like roll or something if you're high level?
That's another cool idea.
Just giving you freebies here.
Yeah.
I think I do like the idea of your skills having a more like physical effect on you rather than them being purely stats based, as well as at least some of the skills being based on you're actually doing them rather than some. I think there's some difficulty around having all these kind of special one-off animations for things like falling and then doing a roll, but I think it'd be worth putting time into that.
Yeah, it would be really cool anyway, just to see a guy like zombies chasing him and then he jumps off a roof or something. I don't know, just stuff like that would make the game feel a whole lot more epic.
Yeah.
More parkour moves in general too.
Yeah, I read that you wanted to make it.
Parkour.
I do love my parkour. I read that you wanted to make it so you can climb stuff that's like chest height. What's it called, Brad? You said what it was called.
As well.
Yeah, like
bolting.
Yeah. Stuff like that. That's going to be brilliant, especially once it's in the game, as you already discussed that you want to add that.
Thanks. Yeah, hopefully that's fun.
And then this is a server question here. So 3.0 currently, when you're having a server, as far as I know, you run off of the actual full game files, and then there's like a server section to it. For 4.0, will there be a totally separate file that you download that's just your server, so you have 2 separate like games technically?
So in short, yes, there is a dedicated server tool on Steam, and so you'll be able to download that from anywhere and have just the server files you need. And it's like slightly more optimized since it gets rid of all the client code. But you will still be able to host servers using the client files, and you can also host servers from in-game as well.
Yeah, you're mentioning like you could host a server just with your friends almost easily instead of going through port forwarding and all this weird stuff that you have to do in 3 now. To play with your friends.
Yeah, you can host through the game, although you still have to port forward if you're hosting over the internet.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. Oh yeah, this one was literally more curiosity, but in one of your devlogs you showed that screenshot of the Pine Ridge sign.
Oh yeah?
Is that like a confirmed map, or is that just showing off what you're going to do? And if so, like how much is complete, and is it based on a real place?
So it wasn't based on a real place. I actually had a ridiculous amount of stuff done for it. I think I showed some of the random props, like there were like the bathroom things that had like keyboards and stuff done. I haven't actually loaded up those props in probably like a year now, but I think at this point I'd like to work on improving the tools for making those sorts of things before I use them in a map. So my thoughts are kind of that the next test map that has like the vehicles and the guns and everything together will probably be some kind of one-off test map, like the vehicle demo, firing range sort of thing. But that there will be at least a town called Pine Ridge in an upcoming map.
Nice. This is quite interesting for the story. Where on earth is Unturned 4 going to be set as far as the timeline of Unturned? Is it going to continue like way into the apocalypse, or like start just as it starts, etc.?
I have kind of mixed feelings on that. I think that I like the idea of setting it late in the apocalypse because then we can have a much more destroyed environment. But on the other hand, I still like the idea that all the environmental destruction is caused by players. And then also if it's set earlier, then it makes more sense to find loot rather than everything being empty. One idea I also kind of like is going for a mixed timeline where I feel like a lot of TV shows recently have been having this weird mix of like 50s to current era, and so I could kind of see doing something in the middle, but it's not really established yet. It'd probably be a while before we have a settled time period.
Okay. And then this one's quite a broad question, but do you have anything planned that would like directly improve roleplay in Unturned 4? So like items, vehicles, or just mechanics that you think would help?
I think a lot of the expanded depth of the different features will help a lot with roleplay. For example, the locks and keys stuff that I was working on recently, those are compatible with everything that should be locked. So, for example, rather than it just being that like doors are magically locked to your group, instead you can put like a code lock on a door or a safe or a briefcase or anything, and I think that will be really useful for roleplay.
Yeah.
What are those sort of things? In general, I just think that all the extra depth for everything will make roleplay a lot more interesting.
Cool.
Yeah.
And this one's also another server question, I guess. So this one, do you plan on supporting Rocket Mod and plugins? That's if Sven manages to like port Rocket Mod over, or do you plan on just keeping it pure vanilla?
I definitely want to support modding, so that will be things like custom game modes, all completely new features from mods. I think Rocket Mod won't be as much of like a cornerstone of being able to mod the game. Like right now, Rocket is kind of the glue that binds the game and the mods for server-side stuff. But the game will support a lot more modding natively.
Okay, so everything will be built in pretty much, hopefully.
Yeah, everything should be built in, and actually Blast Lane is a mod, and a lot of the firing range stuff is a mod. So that's kind of, I've been using the modding systems to ensure that they all are friendly to modders and that they're easy to use. And so I've rewritten a few systems a few times actually to make them easier for modding.
Good. All right. This one's from Derpy. Just felt I'd mention him because Derpy will like that. When the first playable version of Unturned comes to like players in general, obviously not just the demo and stuff, how many weapons and vehicles do you plan on having in that? Is it going to be like a partial release, just as the bit, so people can actually start playing around with it, or are you going to wait till you've got a load done?
I think I kind of want to hold off on making too much content until the systems are a little bit more final. I think it's really nice when there's like just a few guns, so that way it's easy to make changes across the board. Like if I decide 4 different jamming animations, then I only have to do that for 4 guns rather than, I don't know how many Unturned 3 has, like 60. And so my plan, I think right now, is that there will probably be at least the sniper, eagle fire, maybe a pistol, and then definitely I'm going to fix up the hatchback. There might be another vehicle. Those are the main things I want to get fixed up before expanding the beta.
Oh, this one's a pretty cool question. So what would you say inspires you the most for Unturned? Is there any like specific games that you enjoy playing, or movies or anything? Or is it just all off your head?
For Unturned or Unturned 2, or I guess in general?
Really. In general, yeah.
One game I found really inspiring, I guess I've been saying this for years, so it's not really newsworthy, but I find Factorio really inspiring. The fact that the developers are so dedicated to it, and They've put so much work into the performance of the game, and they've made so many huge upgrades. It's so polished, and also just the gameplay in general. I'm really inspired by Factorio.
Is there going to be like a max supported slots, and if so, how many do you reckon it's going to be for Unturned servers?
I think that I don't have any plans to set a specific limit yet. I think it'll undoubtedly be higher than 3. The kind of general max player count of other Unreal Engine games is probably a good starting point to guess. I guess I'd say around 64 as a starting point at least. Performance-wise, I'm probably gonna do some more looking into profiling things and tracking down performance issues soon. I haven't done a lot of network profiling yet, though.
Another sub question, I guess, with 4.0, would you have like a way of, as you said, profiling plugins or mods or whatever? Because right now with 3, if you got something that's causing lag, it's really, really tricky to find it without just deleting and adding and deleting and adding. Is it possible to do it in 4 quicker?
That's an interesting point. So the way Unreal is set up is there's the shipping builds, which are what the game releases as, and that's what's on Steam right now. And those have everything like profiling and logging and the console. They're all completely compiled out. Unlike 3, where you can still enable those things. So I don't think you'll be able to use Unreal's built-in profiling tools in the release version. You might be able to test them while you're in the editor and you're working on your plugins. But as for like if you're a server owner and you're trying to figure out if a specific plugin is causing problems, that's still probably trial and error.
Okay.
It would also, I think, be kind of tricky to have like a generic system in the game to track that sort of thing down, because all the plugins are going to be doing different things, whether they're adding a bunch of network stuff or they're hooking into some events or
Because I tried to get that done with another guy, and he said it's pretty impossible even for you to add into the game because plugins do so many different things. So yeah, I guess it's pretty hard. And then this question was asked by Zumbi in your interview long ago, but you've made quite a bit of progress there. So what are you most proud of so far in 4.0?
Sorry for the long pause. Just thinking about all the stuff I've worked on. I think I'm happy with my patience in making sure it's done right. I think I've learned a lot over the course of working on Unturned 4, because like I've worked on so much stuff and scrapped so much stuff, and I think that in the long term it's going to make the game a lot more stable over a longer period of time. And so I'm happy with the stability of the foundation of the game, I guess.
Yeah, that's
Nice.
good, I guess.
I mean, it does run really, really well. Like, even the load time. So I know there's not much on like the beta bit, but geez, like, it just flashes up and flashes away. Like you don't even really see the Smartly Dressed Games logo. It's great.
Thanks.
And I haven't had like a single lag issue or stutter. Like, I know a lot of games, even ones that you can run really well, there's always just random stutters from nowhere every now and then. And yeah, it runs really well.
Actually, there's a problem right now where on Blast Lane your frame rate's like 150, and that's actually higher than Unreal will support with the characters, and so it actually gets laggier because the frame rate is so high. I spent like 2 hours trying to debug why the Blast Lane mode was lagging in multiplayer, and just because the frame rate was too high.
That is such a flex, but very nice, very nice. Wish every game maker could say that. Sorry, I was getting too many frames. Sorry, man. Oh yeah, this is a very British question, but you have to bear with. I know a lot of people have asked me this, like English people from the UK in general, but they were always asking about like a possible Unturned map, say in the UK or England. Like, this is for 3 or 4. Are there any plans to get England or the UK like as a map?
That would be awesome to see. I think, let me just double check. So Romlet has been working on a UK map for a while. I think he's posted images of it to the forum, and from what I've seen, it's coming along well.
Damn.
But definitely, I think it'd be cool to see any sort of UK or England map, and certainly in 4 too. Yeah.
Yeah, look forward to that.
And then this is our second to last question. Would Unturned 4.0 have a gold edition? And if so, have you planned out any perks that it would have for the gold members?
So I've sort of been thinking of like a premium pass sort of thing. And then the idea there would be that it gives you access to the official servers. That is sort of something that's been on my mind for, I mean, not like actively, but the last few years, thinking about like how the game will sell or whatever.
Yeah.
And I don't really want to go the same directions as 3 because like being able to change your skin color, there's other people that go green, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's gonna be tricky deciding what to do with that, but I'm definitely open to suggestions there.
I mean, I know a lot of games have what do they call it? Like, especially like EA games and stuff. They have that like monthly based sort of stuff with the passes, and it just gives you access to a lot of extra stuff. But I feel like official servers probably wouldn't. I don't know what you could give them, to be honest.
I would buy the game for official servers.
I mean, I know why I would, but like more players in general.
Yeah.
Huh. That's actually really tricky. Yeah, you're right there.
I guess we'll see what happens there.
All right. Oh, yeah, this is a good one. Do you intend on putting Easter eggs into Unturned 4, like little hints at stuff? And I mean, I suppose the billboards are technically Easter eggs as well. So are you planning on doing something similar to that?
Oh, definitely. Well, first of all, there's things like, although I'll probably tweak them up a bit, there were the street signs that have different players' names on them. But one of the most fun projects in 3 was doing the Russia Easter egg with the Shadow Stalker, and I definitely want to do more stuff like that.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Puzzles.
Will the electric mechanics improve? Like, are you gonna have to wire stuff up, such as cage lights and all that?
Cool.
That would be really cool.
Yeah.
That's a good question.
Ooh, definitely. I really want to work on that. I think there's so much room for improvement there compared to 3, and I definitely want to do all sorts of like logic systems where you can program things together with the wire. Everything. I want to do all kinds of improvements there.
Because that's like the best thing in games is when you can just grind to like create this cool base and wire everything up, like Spaml. I mean, the amount of hours we spend wiring the whole base up. Yeah.
Jeez, it did take a long. We were a bit OCD with that though, weren't we?
but it's fun, you know, to wire things up how you want it and create your own little home.
Obviously, it's very hard to say anything right now, but when is a very rough estimate of when you think a playable version will be available for like just the average player?
As you say, that's kind of hard to guess since like a year ago I thought it was a few months away, but I think now I'll also be thinking now that it's a few months away. I think now that I've actually got the combat stuff out, it'll be a lot easier to kind of build on that and continue having something playable for the next few months. And so once everything's a little bit more polished up and we have a little bit more content in there, I can definitely see it starting to go out to more players and, you know, being the first playable version. I can guarantee before the end of 2019, but I would guess sometime in the summer.
That's pretty cool, actually.
Yeah, summer would be
At least
good.
we have a year date now.
Yeah, a year is that's fine. That's good. At least you don't do like a rock star and say, oh yeah, 2030, that'll do. Yeah.
Well, thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you very much. All right, that's definitely it, to be honest. Thank you very much for agreeing to do the little interview here. If anyone watching this has any more questions, comment them down below and I'll try and get them to them for you. But yeah, cheers.
All right, awesome. I'll talk to you soon, and maybe we'll do this again once there's more to talk about.
But anyway, thank you everyone so much for watching. That was pretty darn epic. Like I said, comment down below if you've got anything else. But I'll only do more of this if you guys like it. So give it a cheeky like if you're feeling extra spicy. Drop a sub if you're not already subscribed. Trying to hit 10k here. And I'll see you in the next video.